Hello, everybody. One of the most common criticism that I get about the stocks that I own is that they have no moat. There is no moat protecting these stocks from competition. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about moat, and specifically moats and how they work with innovation and what's the main issue with innovation. And moats are really a business term that mean barriers to entry and that have been popularized by Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett uses the term moat all the time, and his analogy is that of a castle with a moat in which you throw just about everything, including alligators. And that's a famous quote that he keeps repeating. And thus, if you have a moat like that, nobody's going to take your castle. And that's an analogy for a company. Nobody's going to outcompete your company, just like nobody is able to take a castle. And I think that deserves a little more reflection, hence the title, Thinking from Scratch here. Because, yes, moats are pretty protective, and they've protected castles for thousands of years because most of the time you were attacked by soldiers that looked like this, and that archery was a main way that you could attack a castle. And of course, well, a wall couldn't do much against archers, and so you can't break the castle. You can't enter the castle. The moat protects the castle, right? Right, it does until innovation happens. And so after 1,000+ years, well over 1,000 years, what happened is that in the 16th century, castles met their match. They met heavy cannons. And cannons could throw cannonballs that were big enough that they would destroy even the strongest castles. And so countries had to stop using castles as a main way to defend themselves because of innovation happening. And so of course we see this happen in so many different companies. For example, a distribution network used to be the biggest moat for so many businesses until the internet happened. And once the internet happens, it makes this obsolete, right? Blockbuster had its moat in its distribution network with DVDs until streaming happened. And when streaming happened, the product became obsolete. The same is true for a castle. But let's take the analogy a little further, and let's assume that cannons had never been a thing. If cannons had never been invented, would moats still be strong? Say in the case of castle, would they still be protected by their moat? Well, eventually innovation comes knocking. If it hadn't been the cannons, it would have been the planes. The planes would have taken down the castles, and so these are just bomber planes, and you could just drop bombs from the sky. So if not the cannons, this would have been something else. But this is another thing to think about moats. Let's imagine moats are not just technology. Let's imagine innovation. Innovation is mostly technological. Much of innovation is technological, but you can also do a social innovation, or in business, what we call a business model innovation. So let's assume technology stops forever. Are there any other ways that you can break into a castle? Well, this has always existed. For example, you can use trickery, and this is, of course, the Trojan horse of Troy, where they hid soldiers and offered this fake horse as a gift, and they were able to take the castle, which is supposed to be unassailable because of a moat. They were able to take that castle with trickery or deceit. That's one way you can take a moat. And let's even assume that doesn't work. Here's another way to do it. Patience. You can have patience. A famous way to take over castles back in the day was patience, and this is an example of a 9-month siege of La Rochelle in France. And so what they did is they just did a siege for almost a year, and famine started happening, and of course the siege worked without even having to attack, and they were able to take that stronghold. So there's different ways that you can take over a castle that has a moat, whether it is technology in the form of planes or cannons for an actual castle, or whether it is through business model innovation, i.e. things like patience for a siege, or things like trickery for a Trojan horse. And so this is the conclusion, just part one of this video, but over the long run, innovation is the only moat. And that's what I believe. I think over the long run, what matters is how quickly are you able to iterate, how quickly are you able to change your product and evolve your product with the times. That's what matters most over the long run, because if you are not innovating, if you're not updating your business model, at some point, there will be a new technology that comes and that makes your business model obsolete. And that could be technological innovation, but that could also be business model innovations. And this is the end of part one for this video on moats. I'm going to do another video on moats with modern examples as to why I believe that moats are entirely overrated. They are barriers to entry and they're overrated. And this is something that Warren Buffett keeps pushing. And they're closely related to rent seeking. And there's a bunch of evidence that you don't want rent seeking for a business to consistently outcompete over the long run. So let me finish by saying this was not investment advice. This is just entertainment. I hope you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, and have a wonderful day.